Well, good morning, everybody. It's April 1st, 2024. April Fool's Day, right? But we ain't fooling around this morning because I've got some stuff to show you guys. Now, at least a couple of people got triggered on yesterday's show. You know, you can't please everybody. And as much as I tried to protect people from the information in terms of the Satanic Bible by not showing you the pages and spending very limited time on it, a couple people got really upset and turned the show off before they watched the rest of it, in which I rebuked the Satanic Bible, exposed it for the dark evil that it was, and tied it into these occult practices that are coming about as we approach the eclipse, and trying to explain the whole fire and ice thing, which, of course, the Satanic Bible was a central point of. And so, apologies to the people that were in fear yesterday. The Bible says over and over again, Jesus says, do not live in fear, fear not, and truth will always set you free. No matter what that truth is, it will always set you free. We're not supposed to be afraid of the truth. We're supposed to expose the devil's devices so that we are not caught unaware. So there are certain soldiers in our community of Christ, and then there are others who are kind of in the big box Christian, and they don't want to hear anything negative or scary, because it scares them, and their image of the devil is the red-horned, evil, scary demon that makes you want to go run and hide, right? But we don't do that here, and so maybe this channel isn't for everybody. But there were some pretty profound disclosures yesterday, and we're starting to see that there's an occult connection to this upcoming eclipse. And these people that follow the Satanic Bible have actually commemorated this specific eclipse in the writing of the Book of the Law, which was written by Aleister Crowley. So are we supposed to be ignorant of the devil's devices, which the scripture forbids us to do? No, we're supposed to expose darkness. So anyway, what else is going on today? Well, we're going to get into the very creepy season 2 of Fringe, in which we are going to see two. Now, when I say creepy, I'm not saying for you to be creeped out. That's not why I say creepy. Creepy is a word used to describe these people who write these things. They're the creepy ones. And so when you expose things for what they are, you see just how creepy these people are, right? And how they have a fascination and a commitment to a script that has been maintained on many, many levels and over the several decades in different genre of TV series and movies and commercials. And you start to see that this obsession that they have with making sure that everything fits exactly where it's supposed to fit. And so when I say creepy, that's what I mean. So for those of you that are aware, thanks, Phyllis, for the channel membership, much appreciated. So that's what we're talking about. All right, let's dive into this. All right, so 2009 episodes of Fringe that are actually happening right now. Now, what do I mean by they're actually happening right now? Well, by now you've all heard about this new disorder. Let me find the tab here. Where did it go? This is a new disorder that they are saying causes people to see other people as demons. Their faces essentially morph into a demonic face with pointed ears and crazy facial distortions. You guys have probably already now heard about all this because a lot of other truth channels have reported on this. Well, we were just going through some episodes of Fringe and just so happened to stumble on another trifecta of episodes that talk specifically about shapeshifters and people who see others as demons when other people don't see them that way. Essentially, the 2009 episodes are happening right now. Now, what is all this about? Well, this is disclosure about spiritual activity increasing in the last days, and they are framing this as a mental disorder in order to discredit those of us with spiritual eyes. And let's read about this disorder first. This is March 21st, just last week. Victor Chirac had always had sharp vision, but one life-altering day in November 2020, he noticed out of the blue that people's faces around him looked demonic. Now, look at the timing of when this got stripped off. This was well into the pandemic, after most people had already been vaccinated. I'm not saying there's a connection here, but something is not right. Let's keep reading here. Their ears, nose, and mouths were stretched back, and there were deep grooves in their foreheads, cheeks, and chins. Now, take note of this description, because you're going to actually see this exact face description in a Fringe episode visually. You're going to see it. In fact, this guy right here, take a look at this guy's face, because this guy almost exactly is the same guy. He's not the same guy, but they're very similar facial features appear in what I'm going to show you next after we read this article. Let me check in with you guys and make sure everybody's good. Wow, right? Never a dull moment. Now, what are the odds that we're watching these Fringe episodes and these things start manifesting? Remember that person that got run over by the train? He was pushed onto the tracks? Well, some of that was happening during the pandemic as well. We actually reported on those incidents in which people were thrown onto the tracks. But recently, on, I think, early March, a similar situation happened. And then we had done the Fringe episode in which we showed a woman being pushed onto the subway tracks as well. Now, we did that decode after the report in New York about a person being pushed on the tracks, but it all seems to be happening surrounding a pretty close time frame to where we're doing these decodes. Now let's keep going here. Read about this disorder. My first thought was I woke up in a demon world. Now, take very close note of what I'm reading here, because these are almost the exact words in the episode. A guy said he woke up in a demon world, the same thing this guy's saying, in a 2009 Fringe episode. Chirac is 59 years old, from Clarksville, Tennessee. You can imagine how scary it was. Someone he knew taught visually impaired people and suggested he might have prosopagnosia, or PMO. The extremely rare neurological disorder of perception causes faces to appear distorted in shape, size, texture, or color. Chirac felt the symptoms were a match, and he finally was diagnosed last year. The distortions appear only when he sees people in person, not in photographs or through computer screens. How creepy is that? That gave scientists an opportunity to visualize what the warped faces looked like from a person with PMO. Warped? I wonder if warp speed will play a part in people seeing warped faces. Wow. So, to create the visuals, the researchers asked Chirac to describe the differences between photographs of people's faces and real-life people standing in front of him. The researchers then used image editing software to modify the pictures to match his description. So, some cases have been linked to head trauma, stroke, epilepsy, migraines. They are calling it a dysfunction of the brain network. But again, I believe this may be a spiritual manifestation of what people are seeing. For some reason, people's perception of what they see is being altered. Now, are you ready for this? Remember, people's smell was altered. Their taste was altered. Those are two nerves. And now your sight is being altered? Remember, they said that COVID caused people to lose taste and smell. And I wonder if the sight, the vision, is now next. I don't know that all those are connected, but it seems strange that perception of smell, perception of taste, and now perception of vision could all be linked. Now, let's get into this Fringe episode here. What is this about? Well, right on cue. The very episode of Fringe we were screening in order manifested what's happening right now in our reality, relating to people seeing demon faces. Fringe actually discloses the weapon also used to take down the Twin Towers in this episode. They essentially disclose the sound frequency weapon used to take down the Twin Towers. Now let me get you up to speed. Olivia Dunham, this woman you see here, she ends up teleporting through an elevator into another reality where in that dimension the Twin Towers still exist. And she finds herself inside one of the Twin Towers. And there she meets William Bell. Now, who is William Bell? Well, it's Spock. It's Leonard Nimoy, the guy who played Spock in the 70s Star Trek. And he plays the part of this guy, William Bell, who's kind of like an Elon Musk type, like a wealthy entrepreneur, except he's like ultra brilliant, and we know that Elon Musk isn't. But same type of vibe going on. Let's take a look. Now notice the bell chiming on the elevator. Now that's the first clue. This guy gets off the elevator. Dunham closes the elevator, continues to go down to what she believes is the first floor. Except something happens. The floor stops at 15. The lights flicker, and next thing you know, she's in an elevator with a bunch of other people. And then she's by herself again, and the door opens.
This way.
She's greeted by this woman.
I'm William Bell.
And there's Spock. Now, what makes this creepy is he's in another dimension. She has just crossed over to another dimension through an elevator. We've talked a little bit about this in the past, during past decodes, that elevators and phone booths are somehow portals. And the common component in both of those devices is copper, because copper is used in reeving coils, reeving wires, right? Because telephone booths have what they call a three. For those of you that are electricians, you know that there's copper wire in telephone booths. That's what telephone wire is, and it's basically a reeving coil. It's 3 strands or so many strands of copper weaved together like a braid. Okay, and we found the same reeving coil in elevators, in electronics of elevators, and also the coil in elevators that that raises the elevator up and down. So, and they're both box shaped. And there's some kind of component to this. She looks outside and she's in the Twin Towers. And she's on probably the 110th floor. I think there's a couple of like utility floors up here at the very, very top. But right below it is like the 110th floor. And each of these towers has 110 stories, which is a total of 220. Okay. Which has so many spiritual meaning. 220 is like a 220 outlet, which connotates electricity. There's all kinds of stuff going on. 110 volt is this standard outlet as well. I don't know what they're doing now, but back then I think it was 110 and 220. So the electricity was all over this thing. Now watch this, because remember this scene. Later, we're going to tie the knot on this and explain the rest of this to you, because Dunham will later return to the Twin Towers a second time. And the method by which she returns is what the giveaway is. Now, there are other people who are able to slip between these dimensions and realities, and I would compare them in the series to demons. They're like demons slipping in and out of the reality, right? Demons don't quite exist in our physical reality. They're just spirits, disembodied spirits, was what I think the Bible or the Book of Enoch tells us. They really need humans to operate in our reality. They need us to carry out the tasks. So therefore they lie to us. And basically we start carrying out tasks with which further the devil's agenda to wage war on God, right? Because we're in a giant courtroom right now. We're in a galactic courtroom is what our life is. God is letting this play out, okay? But our hope is in Jesus Christ. And God is letting this play out until the end of time, until the devil's plan for our existence and our reality can be proven wrong. So that's why God is letting the devil rule this world. But then in the end, all of these kingdoms will be brought to ruin. That's out of the Bible. And then Jesus will establish his new kingdom where there will be no more sorrow, no more tears, and the animals will be in harmony and all of those other things in Isaiah and other parts of the Bible. So that's kind of a snapshot into rulership and kingdoms and the state of the world, and also Jesus' future kingdom, which will be one of peace. No more death, none of that. Every tear shall be wiped from our eyes. So let's keep going with this, because next they're going to show us another one of these interdimensional travelers, and he starts opening up portals. Watch this. Now, because he's going in between dimensions, he starts getting all these physical defects. He has to wear this face wrap, and because he's dealing with high amounts of radiation and he's opening portals, and he has to decompress when he goes between dimensions, right? So this guy's kind of like a demon. Do you notice all the umbrellas? Do you understand now? I'm not making any of this up. The umbrellas are important. They represent portals as well. So this guy basically points this frequency at a bridge. Remember, there's going to be two factors with this final deception: the umbrella injections and a frequency. I've been saying this for at least 3 or 4 years now. Umbrella, injection, and frequencies. And they essentially show you that right here.
Coordinate tracking is complete, sir.
Now, look at the reassembler delta and look at this shape. Many of you will remember this shape from our 2013 decode that we did about the mirrored interior walls of the firmament in the vault above us. And we thought that maybe, just maybe, the star spin in the heavens was caused by a mirroring effect on the inside portion of the firmament. Here's the video from 2013. I almost couldn't believe my eyes, because this is what I showed you back then. This central portion is essentially the same thing as this. It's basically what it is it's a time-lapse panoramic image of any point in space and time. And it forms this bubble on top, bubbles on the side, and bubble below. Well, this is the symbol that they used to show the opening of the portal. You can almost make out the star spin if you're sitting on the equator, which would be the central part of this. You can see the tree in the middle coming up and the stars spinning left and right. The eyes of Molech. And then as you go closer to the top of the convex lens, you see what? You see the reflection spinning around the pole star in this upper portion of the bubble. And if you go closer to the bottom of the convex lens, which is what I believe the surface of our Earth is, it's almost flat, but not quite. It's a little bit raised in the middle, like a mound. If you go further toward the edge of the ice ring down here, what do you see? You see the bottom. South pole star is what they call it, but it's really not. It's just an effect that you see in the sky. So essentially, as you move up and down the surface of this, what the reflection you see in the sky of the star spin is reflected in this symbol here. Almost exactly. The North Pole star is much bigger So the effect would be bigger. And if you're down like in Australia and you're looking at the South Pole star, the effect is smaller, but it's still there. There's still a small bubble down there. Just like I was showing you in this image here. Now I would play, let me play part of this for you guys.
And so indeed.
And I showed you guys that the shape of the anatomy of the eye is essentially a model of our Earth. Yeah, there's some soundtrack back here. I don't want to get in trouble for this. We used to do a lot of soundtracks in our early videos and a lot more editing and shorter videos. But I've learned that the long format is just better because I can sit and explain to you guys what's inside my head. And here I overlay this mirroring effect so you can see that the eyeball in your head, the two eyes in your head, are essentially scale models of our world.
The truth reveals it.
So I put it in here so you can see it. This is the mound I was talking about, and wherever you're standing on the mound shows you what's exactly what we see in the night sky through time-lapse photography and panoramic photography. So
Itself for the surface.
flip through some of this, and
you would see
here would be the equator. Here, these yellow dots. If you were standing on the mound, and it is exactly what you see. You see the stars spinning one direction and then the other direction. If you're standing at this point around the mound, and if you're standing at the top of the mound, you would see only the North Pole star, which is right here. You could see the circular effects there. And if you're standing down here, you would see this down here underneath. So, not underneath, but basically further down the mound. Now, I don't know all this to be true, but it seems to make perfect sense, doesn't it? And all of it fits inside the model of the anatomy of our eye.
the fleur de lis. I think they know that in the last days.
Here's a visual effect of the star spin in panoramic time-lapse photography, which matches exactly what I showed you here and here. So I don't know what to say about this, but I will put a link to this video from 2013 for you guys to take a look at. It was not seen by many people. Well, it's got 8,000 views, but it came under heavy attack. But now we're starting to see that all this is starting to fall in place, isn't it? Now, let's keep going with this. Just check in with you guys just for a second here. Now, we get into the part of season 2 where these people begin to see demons. Okay, because I promised you we would talk about that as well. Let's let this play out first. All right. Now this part, I'm like, oh boy. If this bridge collapses, I'm going to fall out of my chair. But it didn't collapse. He just opens a portal in front of the bridge. Let's keep watching.
Stabilize, damn it.
If you take one more step, I'll shoot!
Goodbye, Agent Dunham.
Don't!
Now, here's the part I was telling you about, where these people start to see demons. This is unreal. So in this episode, one of the interdimensional travelers uses this device. It's basically he hardwires himself into his next victim to take on the person's identity, to be able to shapeshift to this other person's identity. And he uses this hardwire, this cord. And at the end of each end is a 3-pronged device, like with 3 nails in it. And he plugs it into the top of the mouth, the soft palate of the mouth, which of course just above that is the pineal gland. And at this point, he basically takes this guy's data of his face and he shapeshifts into the other person. So here's the victim. Here's the demon, shapeshifter, interdimensional traveler. And look at his face. It looks almost very similar to this. The furrowed forehead. Look at this, you guys. This is crazy. Watch this. So the data is streaming from the victim to the shapeshifter. I mean, look at this. Let's go back to this. Here's the three-pronged device. You could say these are the three nails that crucified Christ, right? Because this plugs in to the soft palate, as I said, and just above it is the pineal gland, which we've discovered is in the correct position to be the head of Christ in the image of the back of the brain. The pineal gland forms his head. Below it, we see his arms. He's crucified on the cross up against the crossed optic nerves in the human anatomy, in the rear brain images that we looked at. So these nails plugging into the soft palate just below the pineal gland would be the three nails that crucified him, except where is it crucifying him at? Let's go in the chat, because some of you are awake this morning. What is the very first prophecy in the Bible? It is, the serpent shall bruise the seed of the woman in the heel, and the woman will bruise the serpent in the head. Well, what we have here is a reversal, don't we? The serpent is taking the three nails and bruising Jesus in the head. Now, let's show you the rear brain. So some of you, haven't seen this yet. I'm showing you all this so you can see the biblical tie-ins to literally everything that's published. See if we can find it. I always forget how to find this. Grr. Rear brain section. Let's do it. That's it. Rear brain section. It's kind of hard to find, and I think they make it hard to find on purpose. I want people seeing this because it is very, very profound. We're just going to use this image for now. This is about the closest we can get for now. But inside here this is the midbrain, the rear brain. You see the image of Christ. You see his legs here. There's his kneecaps, his thighs, his chest muscles. And in other sections, his arms are outspread like this, up against the crossing optic nerves. He's literally on the cross. And behind that are the two eyes and the head, which represent the two thieves at the crucifixion. And his head is actually the pineal gland. Okay, he is at the top of the brain. Who is he surrounded by? The 12 disciples. Who are the 12 disciples? It's the 12 intercranial nerves that surround him. Unreal. Now, let's go back to this, because as I said, this is a reversal. The prophecy says that Jesus will only be bruised in the heel, which is when he was crucified. And it actually happened. The nails in the heels, because when they crucify you, they hammer the nail through the top of the foot and through the heel and into the post or the wood or the tree or the cross or whatever you want to call it. Well, in this episode, they're reversing it. This is going into the head, where the pineal position, where the head of Christ, of the image of Christ is in your brain. Let's keep going here. And look at this, even down to the very detail of the shape of this device. Looks like a heel, like a heel on a shoe. Shoe heel. I mean, to add insult to injury, men. Okay, let's look at some images of a man's shoe heel. Here it is right here. Wow. Amazon.com. Okay. So this is the shoe heel, as you can see here, and it's the same general shape. Now I get down to these details because everything has meaning. Now, this isn't the only case of people seeing people's faces as demons. We'll get into those episodes in just a little bit. But it's at this point that Meghan Markle shows up in the series. You heard me right. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, in an episode about shapeshifters. You can't make this up. In 2009. With everything going on with the royal family and the prince actually chooses an actress who appeared in a series about shapeshifters, when there are people that literally think that they're reptilian shapeshifters. Here she is.
Pilot, what do you see?
Lab wounds, what are they?
Communication, speech, clairaudience, cognition, and thought. We're trying to augment her 5th, 6th, and 7th chakras.
Throat, third eye, and crown.
That is correct, Astrid.
You wanted her to see God.
So, do you understand now why chakras and kundalini are very dangerous? They're telling you right here in an episode about demonic shapeshifters. Now, I don't know if she was married to Harry in 2009. Let me go back into the chat because I get time amnesia myself sometimes. I forget the timeline. But when did she meet Harry? Was it in 2009 or a little bit later? I know they've been together for a while, but this is crazy. She's in an episode about shapeshifters, and then Harry chooses her to marry. Wow. This is not a movie. This is a TV. We're on a Fringe binge, and we have been for quite some time. Fringe is a TV series from 2008, 2009. That's what we're decoding today. It's in the title of the show today. And we're into season 2 now, so if you haven't watched the rest of the decodes, you got to get caught up. I did put together a playlist. Fringe is basically Fringe science, and it was a series with lots and lots of disclosure, which we're covering right now. So, when did Harry meet Meghan? Oh, Just a Girl says she met him on Epstein Island. Well, I don't know about that, but I guess that could have happened. But wow. When did they meet? What year? They were married in 2018. So, almost 10 years after this episode was filmed. And she's a shapeshifter investigator in the episode. Wow. Let's keep watching here. Now, what is her storyline? How does she fit into the story? Well, she's a new detective, and she is kept out of the loop about all this, and she's trying to make sense of Agent Dunham's bizarre arrival through a portal. And she's trying to get up to speed, but everyone's keeping her in the dark. They don't want her to know. And she only appears in like 2 episodes that I can see so far in season 2.
Who is he? The man with the machine.
The man with the machine. Now, the interdimensional super soldiers that we've been talking about, they not only can shapeshift, but they can also speak to the other side through a typewriter and a mirror. Watch this. Now, this typewriter has a specific name, and I didn't go down that rabbit hole, but we all know about certain people's fascination with typewriters. Certain prominent evil actors have fascinations with typewriters. Lance Corona, which was Tom Hanks, his favorite typewriter is a Corona, and Lance Corona, of course, is Lance Corona COVID. And remember, Tom Hanks ended up becoming one of the first people that they took his blood to experiment on it to save the rest of us from COVID.
And then he changes. That's how they change. They're like shapeshifters. That's how they hide. They can look like us.
He wasn't a shapeshifter at all.
I'm afraid so.
So the shapeshifter is still alive. Which means by now, it could be disguised as anyone. So who was she?
Walter thinks that she was a shape-changing soldier from another universe. He thinks that might be where you went.
Then we get into another episode. And here's the pipes again. Now, I know in the beginning it sounded silly, right? But I've learned not to discount any detail when it comes to these episodes. You just have to see things from the 30,000 foot view. Okay? That's how you have to see things. And you have to notice the patterns. And every time I see pipes, doesn't matter how they appear, I'm always looking for a substance that's being injected. I'm looking for a virus or disease, or I'm looking for a vaccine reference or connection to the scene. And in this case, it did not fail, because at first I was like, oh, there's just pipes there. That's random. But no, it wasn't random. What am I talking about? Well, this is an episode about a genetically modified mutant child who lives underneath this cornfield. He's like an X-Men child. And I'm watching this, and you see this construction worker has an X on his back. And he encounters this child. He's actually killed by the child that lives underground. Now, what examples do we have of pipes, syringe pipes, and black goo or DNA or injections or virus? Well, we saw it many, many times. We saw it in a Batman decode that we did from 1966 when Batman and Robin are out on a pier and they run into a pile of pipes. We saw it again in Black Sunday about Super Bowl. There was a blimp and there was pipes and a helicopter and black goo coming out of the blimp. We saw it again in Venom, the Batman movie, where Spider-Man was fighting Venom, and he enclosed him in a bunch of pipes, and he was made out of black goo. He turned into like black goo. So I'm not making any of this up. Anytime you see empty pipes, this is what they're talking about. So this guy gets killed by the mutant X-child, who first basically paralyzes him with blue blood. The railroad, you hear the railroad in the background, which is a crossing. So there's another X clue, railroad crossing. There's the blue goo. He gets pulled into the hole.
Whoever took those people paralyzed them first.
I can't feel my hand. It seems the substance from Pennsylvania is a paralytic.
The base solution contains human DNA.
Do you think we can trace it? Where it's from?
We're all mutants.
There's your X-Men clue. They're all mutants.
What's more remarkable is how many of us appear to be normal. Perhaps a whole new stage of human evolution. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
If we've stumbled upon a mutant? No.
So now we get into another episode. We got through quite a few of these over the last several days. And in this next episode, one of Walter's child subjects reemerges with the ability to see the aura around the people from the other universe. The interdimensional beings. Watch this.
Oh, it's a soldier. From somewhere else. 3 nails.
The girl you experimented on.
Yes, to see things others could not.
It's from a place that looks like this, but it's not here.
There.
He's glowing, man.
If she was able to identify the shapeshifter once, she may be able to do it again.
I would see their faces in front of me. At first I assumed it was all just a figment of my imagination. And the LSD, of course. They seemed to have, I don't know, a certain glow about them.
The shapeshifters.
You know, like that children's song.
So this is obviously the girl grown up, and she's explaining how she can see these people from the other universe.
One of these things is not like the other. I was recognizing people that didn't belong.
These people, the shapeshifters, we have reason to believe that some of them are amongst us right now. We were hoping that you might be able to help us identify them. Ring.
Now, this segues right into people who see other faces as demons, which is exactly what just broke in the news. As we were screening the series from start to finish without skipping around, and our reality seems to be crossing over into the Fringe reality of 2009. And you have to ask yourself, what's happening here? Now, at this point, Dunham crosses back over into William Bell's dimension after Walter chimes a bell. This bell you're seeing on the screen right now. And the bell chime is the clue. Remember, I asked you to remember that scene that we opened the show with, where she's in the elevator and we hear the chime of the elevator bell. And that was a clue. Watch this. When Peter hits the bell, Dunham falls down and goes into the other dimension. Where does she appear? Back in the Twin Towers, but this time in a specific part of the Twin Towers. The Trident. Now, what are the tridents of the Twin Towers? Remember, there were 19 of them. We counted them. Each one has 3 prongs. There are 19 tridents. There were 19 tridents across the facade of the Twin Towers. Each have 3 prongs. 19 times 3 is 57. 5G. A frequency. So, what are the tridents really? Let's go in the chat, see who's paying attention. What are the tridents? Let's let this chat catch up. Then I'll give you guys a second, and then I'll give you the answer. I couldn't even believe this. There you go, tuning forks. There are a lot of awake people in the chat today. Always there is. Let's take a look at this. There's Dunham right next to the bell. It's essentially a bell. It's a tone. It's a frequency. Visual representations of tuning forks. Now I say visual representation because the forks or tridents on the facade of the Twin Towers, they don't really do anything. What they represent is the entire building. The entire buildings were tuning forks. And they were hit with a specific frequency of vibration and constructed in such a manner that the vibrations would cause the entire structures to turn metal into dust. It was a secret weapon.
Olivia, the shapeshifters on your side are looking for someone to open the door between universes.
Now, then we get to the final episode that we decoded. I think this is like episode 6 or 7 of the second season. And this is where we actually literally see a man who has a condition where he sees demons in regular people's faces. The first person in the office he encounters is this guy, and I'm looking at this guy's face, and I see this guy. Let's flip back and forth, see how similar they look. The dark features, the hair. What the heck? The forehead. I guess this guy's forehead's a little bit more square than this guy's, but they look very similar.
Dude, man, you better get in there. I'm going.
Finally, we...
I am going to destroy you!
What the hell?
He had horns. Like some demon. I know. It sounds nuts. It was like the office was infiltrated by these creatures.
It was like the office was infiltrated by these creatures. Which is almost exactly what this guy said. My first thought was I woke up in a demon world.
And Carl, he was their leader. Almost like I'm dreaming, like it was...
Now, this is crazy. Now, later we find out that what causes this is some kind of brain chip that was put into the back of his head. There's the back of the head again. The holy place that we've been talking about, the image of Christ in the back of the brain. Well, this is exactly where they implanted this chip. And it looks just like Neuralink. And this was a 2009 Fringe episode, you guys. This was almost 15, 16 years ago. Now, why did he have the chip inserted? Well, they're saying it was to cure sleep disorders. He was part of some kind of experiment, some kind of study. But then what happened? Another guy hacks into this guy's brain, and this is what causes him to freak out.
No! Oh my god! Oh my god! No! No!
Now later they discover that the reason why his hair turned gray was from a huge adrenaline release, which stopped his heart and caused his hair to prematurely turn gray. Adrenaline is like adrenochrome.
That's odd. 9 stitches.
So Walter finds the incision on the back of this guy's neck. Again, this is the holy place, the image of Christ, the temple within us, where the Holy Spirit can either be, or you're filled with darkness and there is no Holy Spirit in you.
Surgical.
Walter pulls the chip out of the back of the brain. Essentially, this is Neuralink.
Oh, I'm out.
Some kind of little computer chip embedded in his midbrain.
Midbrain, exactly the image that I showed you before.
This particular chip has a transmitter which makes it wireless.
So it can connect the brain to a remote computer?
Now, what makes everything that I just saw really creepy is that this same exact thing, people seeing other people as demons, happened in a movie called The Devil's Advocate, starring Keanu Reeves, that was filmed in Trump Tower. And in the film, Donald Trump's name is mentioned, and it said he was supposed to be here. And this is where Keanu Reeves starts seeing, or his wife starts seeing, people as demons, the demons that they really are. Their shape-shifting ability falls away, and they can no longer conceal themselves from certain people. Wow. Filmed in Trump Tower. In fact, Trump's penthouse on the 66th floor is shown in the movie. Keanu Reeves goes to Trump's penthouse. Now, we covered The Devil's Advocate. I might need to re-upload that one, given the current circumstances of the fact that Donald Trump's going to become our next president. I may need to re-upload that video for you guys. Now, have no fear. God is protecting his people in these last days. But don't let your heart fail from fear, because you've already been warned about what's coming. You've already been shown it. They're showing you. We're just showing you what they're showing us. So, we have faith. There is no fear if someone shapeshifts into a demon in front of us, right? Do not be afraid. Jesus said many, many times, do not have fear. Do not be afraid. So, they explain in the episode that essentially the guy was seeing these, he was basically living in his nightmare. He would basically be in a waking nightmare is what ended up happening. And again, Walter had discovered that it was adrenaline that had killed the man and turned his hair gray. He finds the incision in the Holy of Holies, the Neuralink chip. And so in summary, this whole meme is about people seeing demons, and it already happened in 2009 in a Fringe episode. Now, tomorrow we'll be back between the headlines, and we're entering now a reality where there is what's called subjective truth. In other words, you can show someone factual evidence, and you could show it to their face, and they'll be in complete denial when shown the evidence. They're now saying that they have cell phone data that's the federal government is trying to hide, that they have cell phone data that places Trump on Epstein Island. Now, I'm going to read the story tomorrow, but I already know that people are going to say that's fake news. Well, the fact that the federal government is trying to cover it up should tell you everything you need to know, because it's not just Trump that they found on Epstein Island. They found a bunch of other people on Epstein Island that are outside of the flight logs. So this is breaking information. It's not me recycling old flight logs. We already know Trump flew on the Lolita Express, which in of itself, flying on an airplane named after a victimized child is already bad enough. Okay? Knowing that this guy has a propensity for younger girls, that's already horrific. Anyone who flew on those planes with that guy, unless they completely didn't know who he was, which that's not going to happen. A billionaire is not just going to put somebody on their plane if the person doesn't know who they are, right? So they knew exactly who he was. The plane's name is the dead giveaway. It was always named that from the beginning. Everybody who flew on that plane knew, Trump included. Now, he only flew once according to the flight logs on the airplane, but now there's new data, cell phone data, that they found. They were able to, I'll read the story tomorrow, but there are still going to be some who love Trump and will say that's fake news. Okay? Because people love and trust a billionaire over their peers. People who have nothing to gain or lose. People who don't choose sides, trying to get down to the bottom of the truth. Okay? Now, what else am I going to show you guys tomorrow? Well, California is now preparing for battle. When Trump wins, they're already saying that they've taken the threats that Trump's made against California seriously, and they're preparing legally to fight off the federal government. So, California will now become a battleground. We're also going to look at the infamous bat that appeared on the quarter before COVID hit America. We're going to look at that. We're also going to look at a robot police dog who got shot in the line of duty, who they are treating like a real dog. Sympathy for artificial intelligence. And we've talked about that also on previous decodes. We talked about how they are trying to depict artificial intelligence in such a way that we should feel sorry for it. And we've seen that programming play out in many, many films, haven't we? And there's something I need to mention today. I wanted to save it for tomorrow, but it's kind of urgent, and that is the fact that Airbnb sent out a brand new policy just a few days ago saying that they're preparing for government travel restrictions, and they're making way for that in the contract for cancellations. Now you got to remember, there are millions and millions of Airbnbs that have been booked for the eclipse. And now Airbnb is changing. In fact, we're going to cover that today because this is important, you guys. There's so much going on. Let me show you the email that I got. Here's what they said. This was just a few days ago. Foreseeable, what's changing in the policy? Foreseeable weather events at the reservation's locations are explicitly eligible for coverage if they result in another covered event, such as a government travel restriction or large-scale utility outage. So that's breaking brand new information there. So that's what's going on tomorrow, you guys. I'll put links to everything in today's show in the pinned comment. Do you guys have any questions before we pop off of here? I'm in the chat now. You have my full attention. All right. Texas is restricting truck commerce. Obama did his president at the bottom of Zeus's platform. Yes, that is correct. Ted got the same Airbnb email. Cliff Notes version of the Easter holiday. Well, we got some videos on that. I used to upload those every single year. I just don't do that anymore. You know, people are attached to traditions of men. They're just going to do what they're going to do. All of that will be hashed out in the end. God will reveal to us our false worship of men's pagan holidays, and that'll be between us and God, right? All right. Transgender Day of Visibility. Is that what today is? On April 1st of all days? Like April Fools? Wow. All right. Yeah, please hit the like button if you can. Okay. Yeah, so tomorrow will be the same exact time as today for the live show tomorrow. Okay. All right. Yeah, if there's any holiday you want to recognize, it would be the feast days. Okay, that would be my suggestion. Okay. Easter was the Trans Day of Visibility on Sunday. Okay, thank you. Bill Gates engineered food called Apple. Wow. Let's see here. Thanks, Chickpea. All right, you guys. Well, I think we'll end the show there. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Yes, I did. We did some decodes on Grimm, the TV series. They're probably buried somewhere on the channel. I don't know. They're somewhere. We did a few on there on that. All right, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Take care. Be safe.